I kind of broke it down into stock up, stock down. I did want to list all of the characters, especially because there's three of us. I'm sure we'll all have our own takes and we'll all have our own things. But just as a joking one that I wrote for stock up was Hoopla and Razzmatazz, because I mean Connor's trying to bring it to the Statue of Liberty, so it's looking up for Hoopla and Razzmatazz. We're looking like we're gonna get some of that later on, and
New
then
Barnum and Bailey.
and then the second one is Roman. I am noted in our season 4 hype episode that I'm a little bit of a Roman, not necessarily hater. I'm just not as high on him as other people, and I thought he was fantastic this episode. I was genuinely shocked that he seemed to be like the reasonable one in the room with the siblings. He seemed to be the only one that wanted to like take a step back on the deal and be like, okay, let's actually think about this. Like we should think about it more than just the idea that it's being petty towards dad and doing that. And I liked him throughout this episode, except when he was being a dick to Bun. And I was just like, okay, at this point now you're gonna ruin the deal just because you're being an asshole.
See, I didn't get that he was being such an asshole. Like he was, obviously, and Nan was being wild. Nan was just like, this is disgusting, but okay, I'll listen. It was actually a very funny bit of Nan because I didn't find her funny previously. She was kind of just like a thorn in Logan's ass previously, but this episode they really made her kind of whimsical. This like whimsical old lady was just goofing off in the midst of this $10 billion deal. But Rome, I think, genuinely just doesn't want to get back in the ring with his dad. Like he's lost so many times, and I think that this was just giving him anxiety. It was giving him the ick, so he was acting out. But I did agree with you 100% when he's like, I'm the only one who's not trying to fuck someone here. So what's the deal? And I thought that was great. He seems like pretty mature for him in this episode. And he looks great. All the boys, they look really nice. Good haircuts this season.
Yes, his hair looks so much better than it did in, I guess, season 3, season 2. It was getting a little, I mean, maybe, I don't know if they were doing it on purpose because of like the far right kind of things that were going on in season 2 and really season 3, especially with the presidential discussions. And he was looking a little crazy with that haircut, but it looks much better now.
I don't think we're done with that yet, but
yeah.
I mean, my Roman and looking at my Roman stock, I don't think much happened. I think it's stable. I think all the new gen Roys are at the bottom of the stock market, but like he's probably at the top of them, even above Connor, I would say. And yeah, I mean, I think just from the trailer, right? He has other, I think, irons in the fire or will with Logan. And my friend Taylor pointed out that he was wearing blue out of the kids while at Logan's party that they obviously weren't at. Everyone there was wearing blue, like the whole party. Like it was like kind of weird. So she thought that maybe it was some symbolism. And I was like, that's probably something very intentional, knowing the showrunners and just HBO type level of show and symbolism. But yeah, I think there's more to come. I'm hoping the stocks will go up next week or so. You have the most Roman stock, right? That was your pick?
Yeah, my main pick.
And speaking of Connor, I mean, whoever bought stock in Connor, did I buy stock in Connor? Did you?
I did.
Okay. I need to say that man is spending your money.
Oh, it's bad. He's in my stock down list for sure. I was just like shaking my head like, Con, my man, come on. It just, I mean, well, listen, I feel like we're going to have to go low for him to kind of maybe get some perspective, and maybe becoming this laughing stock that he's so afraid of will hopefully open his eyes a little bit.
Greg's line
I need
read.
the election to pass. Is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, will it through the season? I feel like Logan. No, but I'm saying, will the election end before the season ends, or will it take the whole season to end?
I feel like
but either way,
it was soon.
Yeah, I thought he said.
Yeah, but who knows how long this season is gonna last?
It's not like a week.
Well, okay, but for my investment, I need it to pass because I need Con to be a little humbling and some perspective in his life.
But Greg's line read of 100,000 and then whatever her name is being like, and what'll that get you? That gets you the win? Oh yeah, 100 million. Sorry, 100 million. And then Will is like, oh God, no. Oh God, no.
Yeah.
That's just to maintain. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, Con. As a Con head myself, we're not feeling super optimistic, but I think this was always more of a long range play than just like a 1 or 2 episode thing. So I'm holding out hope for the soul that I know is in this ridiculous, obnoxious, stupid shell that he has, and I'm holding out hope on that blossoming at some point.
I mean, this will truly humble him, right? He spent how much of his own fortune that he's not, to my knowledge, adding to in any sense other than maybe stocks, but like,
yeah.
My God.
Well, also, I mean, that was a big part, I guess, of season 3 of he was running out of money and needed money from Logue. So maybe did Logue float him money? Like, how does he now have 100 million to blow? Who knows?
Let's talk about that new nickname, Logue. I never heard it before. 3 times in the episode. Crazy.
Logan Tommy. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't. I even wrote it down too. It just Logue ? I don't know how I feel. I was very close to putting Logan on a stock down list. Just based off like a 1 episode thing, like we mentioned, I guess in the beginning a little bit. He's obviously feeling the impact of his kids not being there. He literally goes on like an existential crisis walk and starts having a discussion about the afterlife, which doesn't seem very like him. And now, people calling him Logue. It just feels like I've read something online. This is not an original thought of mine. Of like maybe it's a symbolism of like people's kind of not lack of respect, but like realizing that he's not like this insanely large figure on a pedestal that Jerry and Carl, because even like they have the classic Frank, Jerry, and Carl argument over who's going to tell him bad news, and I love when they do that, and I was happy we got one. But Carl just kind of does it. It didn't seem like there was that level of fear that there was, I guess, in season 2. So
it was almost
maybe they're
goofy.
trying to. Yeah, right. He was kind of like eating candy while he was doing it, I thought, which was interesting. So I guess it's kind of showing maybe cracks in his armor a little bit. I don't know.
Everyone's also running out of fucks, I think. This like Gojo thing's coming, right? Maybe. And it's just like maybe they feel all in a better place and they sort of see the light at the end of the tunnel with him, possibly,
That's a very good point.
Yeah. I can go with one. So Kendall, just in general, that's who I bought stock in the end of in our Emmy, Christ, in our hype up video. And I think it stayed, I bought low, right? Kendall was pretty low stock. Yeah. So I think maybe it ticked up a bit. He's in good spirits. He had some good lines. It makes me believe that him and Shiv and them like know what they're doing, even though they just can't. There's no way that they do. But I think that my Kendall stock is staying either even or a bumped up a tick. Nothing worrisome, at least.
I mean, he's showing stability for what it's worth. So I feel like that's for what you predict for him or wish for him is as good as it could get.
Right.
He was like, I've smoked horse. I need something to like put my time into. And then that made me think of why he wanted an asset. If he was trying to get bought out, he knows himself. He needs fucking something to go be addicted to, frankly.
To go nut.
To go nut.
And I guess, maybe that's Pierce now. Yeah, he just kind of had a very even-keeled episode, which for Kendall is as good as
a win.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Do we want to move on to, we've talked to Rowan, we've talked to Kendall. How we
Let's
feel.
talk about,
I didn't, go ahead.
I was going to, Shiv.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, why don't we talk about our group stock in Tom, since we all bought stock in Tom? Because then Shiv kind of gets into weird territory, and it'll touch on Tom too. But we can talk about Tom in general first. Tom, do we think the Team Logan is gonna find out that Tom's the leak?
I don't know. I mean, Tom's leak in for what though? Was it the Pierce stuff? Because also I feel like it easily could just be pinned on Bridget Fuckface because she posted, because they really had the thing where they saw that Bun was at the party on social media, which was, I guess they got a spoon fed us that was Bridget Fuckface. So I think Tom might be in the clear there a little bit.
So then he holds steady.
So I have a different thought, and again, not totally original thought. Someone else mentioned how like in the end Logan didn't seem as disappointed as you'd expect because in not getting Pierce, but more so that his kids went and made a dumb fucking deal just to spite him again. He's like, So part of me thinks, and then they were writing about how Tom isn't good because he's the line to the kids still, right? Through Shiv.
Yeah.
So, Logan, he's probably doesn't fully trust anyone. So he probably knew Tom would do something dumb. So I think there is a chance that like he kind of, made the move and there was a ripple effect. But
I I can see
So I don't
that
know
easily.
entirely if it would come back to bite him or if it was all Logan's plan. But I just think Tom's stocks are a little unstable based on the if we're good,
Yeah.
we're good.
That was amazing. And I love how he ends it with like, where's like, what did he say? Gary, like, where's the food? Like Tom's off his nut. Tom's just sitting there on the couch like, oh my God, what the fuck have I done? I love
Sold
it.
his soul to the devil, like he said to Greg,
Yeah, I wasn't willing to downgrade Tom. I think unstable is a good way to describe it. I don't know if after one he's really I don't know if he's gone down because I feel like it's kind of evened out. Like professionally, I feel like he's still okay. I mean, if we're good seems to be Logan's idea of everyone. It's just funny when he says it out loud after Tom like dumps his soul onto him. But obviously, personally, things are potentially rockier than they were. I'm not really sure if it's just kind of we got confirmation of what we were expecting or if this is actually like a huge blow.
Well, before we dive into that, I will also say I think part of his only appeal to Logan still is that he has the line to Shiv if they're going to still be kind of, separate. And I just think that puts him in, like I said, the unstable place, right? Like the way Logan's like, call your wife, get your wife, as if Tom has any control there, or if that's just a constant test he's going to be facing, he's no longer going to have that, which leads to.
Yeah, which leads to Shiv. But it's funny because when we talk about these stock conversations, it's like stock as in how are they going to be coming out of the series, right? Like where is that in business? Is that in love? In my heart, Tom shot up 1,000 paces.
Yeah.
He was so gentle this episode, even like besides the Greg stuff, which is so funny. Tom had this like gentle warmth to him this episode, especially at the end, that I haven't really seen. I mean, we've seen him be kind of like dumb and sappy, and you kind of feel bad for him. But in this, is like calm, cool, collected, and just like devastated little heart talking to Shiv in this last scene. First of all, incredible acting. But in general, this scene, again, like I said in the executive summary, first time I cried at Succession. She even cried again on the rewatch. Like, I didn't feel myself rooting for them in the previous seasons because Shiv's such a monster most times. But watching that scene, it was so like tender-ish, and I don't know, it just really got to me. So just in general, Tom stock with like business and stuff, it may be like a little wobbly, but in my heart, stocks are up. But yeah, so let's talk about Shiv before the heartbreaking stuff, because she's obviously going through it. The minute she hears about the Naomi thing from Tom, I mean, she's like chugging Pellegrino, and the boys, again, another good sibling moment. The boys are like, fuck off. We need to talk to our sister. Get out.
Yeah.
T or whatever the hell his Tellus is. He's new, right?
Yeah, he looks new to me.
And he's a goofball. But anyway, yeah, I enjoyed this stuff. I enjoyed the sibling stuff. Shiv seemed, I think stocks are
Everyone's saying Shiv stocks down. Shiv's down bad. If anything you read, how I felt is rough.
I was expecting a certain level of spin zone out of the two of you.
No,
I'll call it like it is, but we'll still.
I love her so much.
Okay, yeah. I bet you guys
tell it like it is and
tweet-
still love her.
Yeah, where it was like
that shit was just funny.
Yeah, where it's like Shiv has the audacity to be mad at Tom for like potentially maybe hooking up with models while she kind of cucked him for 3 straight seasons. And then the one reply was like, I love her. She's our queen. It's just like, that's
She's so real for that.
Yeah. Like you said though, Kathleen, it was fantastic acting. You could really tell like Shiv's emotional issues were so on display, just like in Sarah Snook's look on her face, where like you could tell. And I mean, obviously she says essentially that like she doesn't want to open any of the wounds because basically she's afraid of that level of vulnerability. She won't have control, especially over Tom, which is what she actually kind of likes about Tom, it seems, for the most part. And it was just so good, especially as maybe someone, not obviously the level that Shiv exhibits, this like inability to be vulnerable and like this crazy avoidant emotional person, but like, maybe just having a little bit of a struggle with opening up to people at that level. It was like, holy shit, this like they need to talk, but they physically can't have that conversation. And that's like frustrating and sad to watch.
I think that's the devastating part, right? You just watch these adults who just know everything, but to say it hurts too much. And so you just end it. So you just walk away from each
Yeah.
other's lives. Like it's, yeah, devastating. Cause again, it's not like I root for Shiv and Tom. She's horrible to him and it's their biggest, cringiest moments, right? Of the whole series. But yeah, they just crushed it acting wise, and it makes you feel like for them and just feel about that situation.
Yeah, it's just like a point of pride. He got one over on her and she doesn't want to relive it, think about it. She doesn't want to deep dive it. This guy that she's cucked for 3 seasons got one over on her, and that's not something she can face, which sucks, but they're going to eventually, I think, like I'm going to like put it on the board, their end game.
I was just going to ask that question, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and I mean,
think
if
they
you
are too.
haven't if you haven't listened to our previous episode, we are Shiv stans. We are Shiv apologists. We love Shiv because it doesn't really seem like it based on this conversation, but I love her and I'm rooting for her. And I just think in the middle, like when they do a great, like a directed scene where when she's going in to say the 10 million, she opens the doors and it's just a close up on her face, and then the boys are behind her, and it's great. So there are wins for Shiv in this. I don't know that 10 billion is the right number. I don't know if they have $10 billion, but there are some good things in this, and I just think that at the end, Tom shines in the gentle way because Shiv was saying all of those things that made her just sound so petty, especially because they had an open relationship even when they were together and not separated. And so all the model stuff, are you doing all the positions, Tom? It was making me feel a type of way. But when Tom was sitting on the bed, there was no music playing, and it was just having a one-on-one conversation until the really sad music starts playing. And it really sat with me. It's like one of the scenes I'll remember when I think back on the show for sure. So yeah, maybe Shiv's stock is not great, but I think I still loved watching her in this episode. But Tom did it for me more, I would say, in that scene.
Yeah, it's going to be messy. It's not going to be as clean as, them holding hands and that's the end of it and they go their separate ways like cleanly. I mean, this episode in general was a huge mess we get like the show starts and they're chilling and they're doing their own business thing. And then now we're obviously roped into immediately a bidding war with their dad over this asset. And Naomi's involved, which is Kendall's ex. And she's involved with Tom, who's obviously on the rocks with Shiv. And that's all getting involved. And then Greg is being a ridiculous person and Nan's back into it. So it's just like a mess from the beginning. So I'm sure their relationship is going to go rocky. But I agree with you. I do think that their end game.
Yeah. Come on. We need love.
And so I guess the last little investment we haven't talked about is just Greg. For me, it was a stock down episode for Greg. He's exhibiting the exact behaviors of why I didn't put him on my top 3 list going into the season, which was the worrying stuff he was doing at Caroline's wedding, just kind of being a dickhead. And he's really leaning into it and like thinks Tom is as well, it seems, but Tom's just kind of going along with it maybe and is not actually like excited about the Disgusting Bros kind of title and things, while Greg's like, yeah, let's go fuck all these chicks and fuck them over, and Tom's like not actually doing that. So Greg is definitely stock down for me.
If Tom is doing that, he'll never tell Greg. He always
True.
needs to have be a peg above Greg, But
yeah, I also just want to reiterate something, Kyle, you said last episode. You said Greg himself is just a catalyst to make everyone else funnier. And I think that's even more present this episode when Tom's dragging him for the bag and all for the girl's bag and everything. So I agree with that. And yeah, Greg is down, but he's just so stupid. Like he makes me laugh so much. He's such an idiot. Yeah. In the post interview or maybe at TikTok, he's 6'7".
Yeah.
The actor. We saw on a TikTok and Al literally was like, did he just say he's 6'7"? I'm like, he must
crazy.
Just be dunking on everyone on that set. Because that's goofy.
Pretty tall.
Yeah, because they don't look.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I never noticed, like, Kendall's and Roman are kind of on the shorter side, but I've never noticed a glaring, like, what kind of beanpole, but so they must all be a little tall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and Greg and Carrie had a great moment. Again, just highlighting how dumb Greg is. Of Carrie like lining out all these issues of him bringing this random person to Logan's birthday party. I mean, it shows the growth in Greg because the first episode he's all awkward at the party by himself and doesn't know where to stand or sit or touch. And now he's bringing a date and drinking and making fun of Connor and things like that. So obviously the growth is there, but in kind of a bad way.
Yeah, I think it's like classic to all of them. It's here or here. There's no middle ground. There's no like balance. It's just one thing or the other,
All right. I think that kind of wraps up everyone. I didn't really have a take on anyone else. We didn't really discuss anyone else in our hype episode of who we were investing in or anything like that, or really riding for this season. So if there's no other lasting comments from the two of you, I think that's going to wrap up our episode 1